Have you ever been tested without knowing it? Imagine discovering that a safe full of money and secrets was left open, just waiting for you. Rosa, a faithful employee for decades, faced exactly that. What would you do in her place? Stay until the end of this true story of honesty, betrayal, family secrets, and a hidden past that comes to light with unexpected consequences. I guarantee that if you leave early, you'll miss a shocking twist that could change how you see life. The house was plunged in thick silence, the kind you can almost hear. Outside, the sky threatened rain, with heavy clouds pushing the late afternoon into the old mansion. The windows were slightly open, as if waiting for an answer. But what Rosa found that day wasn't an answer. It was a challenge, and she didn't even know it. Rosa walked barefoot through the waxed corridors of the Vasconcelos mansion. At 63, with her already white hair tied in a simple bun, she carried a bucket with rags and an old feather duster. She wasn't in a hurry, never was. Her body already felt the weight of the days, but her eyes were still firm. They saw everything, including the things that aren't spoken about. When she opened the door to her boss's office, the world seemed to stop for a second. The safe was wide open, not just ajar. It was completely open, the door gaping like a beast's mouth waiting to devour the first unwary person. Inside, stacks of money in bundles, jewelry in velvet boxes, an antique pocket watch, and a sheet of paper with trembling handwriting. A will! She stopped at the door, the cloth still in her hands. Her heart raced. This is wrong, she thought. The door wasn't locked, neither was the safe, and no one around. She closed her eyes for a moment, took a deep breath. The office's smell was the same as always. Leather, old wood, and a light masculine cologne. Only she didn't know that behind the slightly open closet door, there were eyes, tired, suspicious eyes, silently observing her every movement. It was Mr. Alberto. He was 70 years old, with a gaze that mixed coldness with an ancient, never-explained sadness. 3 weeks ago, he had made a solitary decision to test the only person who had never asked him for anything. He wanted to know if she was really different, if all that dignity was real or just a disguise of convenience. Crouched behind the closet, he breathed slowly to avoid making noise. He had left the safe open on purpose, like someone setting a trap to catch a fox. But what he saw disarmed something inside him. Rosa approached the safe with measured steps. Her eyes swept over the contents without haste. She saw the money, a lot, the diamond earrings, the pearl necklace, an old photo fallen in a corner, almost hidden, a man and woman from the 70s. The woman wasn't his wife. She extended her hand and touched the necklace, just to move it and see better. It was beautiful, cold to the touch. She ran her fingers slowly over the pearls, as if touching something sacred. Then, delicately, she placed it back in the same spot, not a centimeter out of position. Her eyes then turned to the paper. She picked it up, read it silently, and folded it again. She put it back as it was. She stood there, motionless for a few seconds. Then she took 2 steps back, wiped her hands on her apron, turned around, and left the office, as if nothing had happened. The silence was broken only by the crack of lightning in the distance. Rain began to fall, slowly, as if it too wanted to peek at what had just happened. Alberto remained there, motionless. What he felt wasn't exactly relief. It was something deeper, a mixture of shame and respect. He, with everything he had, needed to set a trap to confirm the honesty of someone who had always been there, serving tea, cleaning windows, and washing the sheets of ungrateful children. While Rosa returned to the kitchen, washing her hands in silence, something inside her also seemed to tremble. She knew she had been watched. She had learned, throughout life, to feel gazes even when no one shows themselves. But she said nothing. She just returned to her corner, lit the stove, and prepared the evening coffee, as she had done for almost 20 years. On the other side of the house, Alberto locked the safe, but something inside there would remain open longer, the doubt about everything he had built. That day, neither of them slept well, but they slept differently. The kitchen clock showed 5:47 when Rosa got up, as she had done every day for decades, even before the sun showed its face. She put her feet on the floor carefully, trying not to wake the silence. There, in that little back room, everything had its place. The rosary hanging at the headboard, Her husband's photo in an already worn frame, the old radio that only picked up AM. The kettle was already whistling when she began to prepare bread with butter for herself. No one there would notice if she took milk from the main house, but she bought her own, always insisted on it. "It's just my way," she would say, "but I prefer it like this." That morning wasn't like the others. There was something in the air. Maybe it was what she saw in the safe, maybe it was Mr. Alberto's look the night before. Cold, but more attentive than usual. Memories began to escape from within her, as if the day had pulled a thread from the past. Rosa met her husband at 19, when she was still an apprentice seamstress at a neighborhood cooperative. He was a bricklayer, honest as a guard dog and quiet like Rosa herself. His name was Benicio. They married without a party, with a borrowed witness, but with true love that faced what it could, and what it couldn't as well. They had no children. They tried, but God seemed to have other plans. Benicio died early, from a sudden heart attack, while laying tiles in a downtown building. Rosa became a widow at 43, without pension, without house, without support. Only with an old radio and a silent strength she didn't even know she had. It was during this period that the job at the Vasconcelos house appeared. Donna Marlene, Alberto's wife, was an elegant woman, always perfumed, who spoke softly and commanded much. Rosa remembered the first day. She left her purse on the sofa and went to help push a heavy wardrobe without even asking. The lady looked with amazement. She wasn't used to employees who didn't wait for orders. Alberto barely noticed her. She spent years in that house without being truly seen. She was like a plant that's watered out of obligation. She never slept in the mansion. Only after Donna Marlene's death, when the guest room became the service room, she never complained. One day, Alberto's youngest son, an arrogant and conceited young man, left a 100 real note on top of the sink after Rosa spent hours cleaning his bathroom after a party. She went to his room, handed the note to him and said, "I'm already paid, young man. This isn't mine." He laughed mockingly. Nobody would know. She looked into his eyes and replied, "I would know." This story spread through the house corridors, became legend among temporary employees. Some thought she was foolish, others that she was a saint. But Rosa was neither one thing nor the other. She had just learned that little, when it's clean, is worth more than much when it's stained. That morning, while hanging sheets on the line, the sky opened in a shy blue, and a ray of sun fell on her hands. For a moment, Rosa closed her eyes and thought of Benicio. "You would have told me to run out of that room," she whispered with a half-smile. But she didn't run, didn't touch the money, didn't touch the diamonds. She only picked up the necklace out of curiosity, not out of desire. It was then that she heard footsteps in the garden. She turned and saw Mr. Alberto standing, hands behind his back, looking at the clothesline. He rarely appeared there. Rosa dried her hands on her apron. "Good morning, Mr. Alberto." He responded with an almost imperceptible nod, like someone still digesting something indigestible. "Did you sleep well?" "I did. Yes, sir." Silence. He seemed to want to say something, but didn't. He just turned and walked back. Rosa knew what that meant. She was being watched and judged. But for her, it wasn't news. She had spent her entire life being judged without a chance to defend herself. For her clothes, for her silence, for not having children, for not accepting favors. She learned to walk with straight shoulders, like someone carrying an internal truth that no one can take away. That's why she didn't take anything from that safe. Not because she was afraid of being caught, but because she had already lost everything that money can't buy. And she learned, through pain, that what we take from life is what our conscience allows us to sleep with. And that night, she had slept with a light soul. As the sun rose and the city's noise began to invade the house walls, Rosa returned to the kitchen and began chopping onions for lunch. Her hands steady, her gaze distant. What she didn't know is that in the coming days, everything she believed she knew about that house and about her boss himself would be called into question, because the past, like safes, also keeps secrets. The day dawned with a leaden sky and a wind that made the windows tremble as if the house were breathing. Rosa woke with uneasiness stuck in her stomach. The key, still hidden inside the rosary, seemed to weigh more than usual. That morning would be different. In the kitchen, the coffee was more bitter than usual. Rosa prepared breakfast with slightly trembling hands, trying to convince herself that all of this was just paranoia. The safe, the envelope with Dalva's name, the fallen key, coincidences. Maybe Mr. Alberto was just organizing his documents. But what happened next knocked her down inside. Around 10 a.m., while organizing the hallway closets, Rosa noticed something was missing. Her work card, which she always left inside the locked drawer of the iron cabinet in her little room, was on her bed, open, crumpled, and worse, torn. A clean cut right through the middle of the page where the Vasconcelos family records were. Her name there, split in half. She sat on the bed, her whole body cold. This couldn't have been an accident. It was symbolic, a silent gesture, an accusation without words. Rosa took the card in her hands, smoothed the paper, trying to glue the pieces together with her fingers. As if with that, she could also glue the broken trust, the wounded dignity. She breathed deeply, got up, and went to the laundry room. There she buried her face in a wet towel and cried silently. She didn't cry from fear of being fired. She cried from the pain of not being believed, even after a lifetime of doing right. The truth is that sometimes silence hurts more than screams. And that gesture, tearing her work card, was like a slap without a hand. At lunchtime, the house was strangely full. Alberto's 2 sons were there, talking quietly in the hallway. When Rosa passed, the younger one, the same one who years ago had tried to give her 100 reis as a tip, looked at her with a crooked smile. "Everything all right there, Dona Rosa?" She just nodded and continued, but she heard the muffled laughter behind her. It was as if everyone knew something, except her, or worse, as if she were the something. Later, while cleaning the second-floor bathroom, she found in the trash a torn piece of an envelope. She recognized it immediately. It was the envelope with the name Dalva. Someone had torn it to pieces and thrown it away. But why? And how did it get out of the office? She felt she was approaching forbidden territory, as if she had accidentally stepped into an emotional minefield. In the late afternoon, Alberto appeared in the kitchen. He stopped at the door, watching her wash the dinner dishes. She turned, her face still wet. "Did something happen, Mr. Alberto?" He stared at her for a few seconds. Hard look, closed mouth. Then he said dryly, "Did you see anything in the office?" Rosa stopped, swallowed. "I saw the safe was open, but I didn't touch anything, sir." He nodded slowly. "Better that way." He turned and left. Just that. But that phrase would echo inside Rosa for days. Better that way. It wasn't a threat. It was a verdict. That night, alone in her room, Rosa opened the drawer and stared at the torn card for a few seconds. Then she took thread, a needle, and began to sew, stitch by stitch, trying to save her own story with her hands. And while the thread passed through the already wounded paper, she thought, how many times in life do we have to sew what others tear without thinking? Outside, the rain finally began. Not a drizzle, but real rain, the kind that washes the ground, the soul, and secrets too. And it was just the beginning, because Rosa now no longer wanted just to understand what was happening. She wanted to discover the truth, and she was about to do it. It was late at night when Rosa heard the noise. A dry crack coming from the laundry room. She got up slowly, put on her slippers, and left her little room. The hallway light flickered, as if resisting time. The rain continued fine, persistent, and the wind pushed dry leaves against the walls. Upon opening the laundry room door, she found the indoor clothesline fallen on the floor. Among the wet clothes, something strange caught her attention. A brown envelope, stained with moisture. It must have fallen from one of the shirt pockets. Rosa crouched down, picked up the paper, turned it over. No sender, no date, just feminine handwriting, firm, slightly slanted, filling a yellowed sheet. "Dear Alberto, I no longer expect anything from you, nor from your promise that you'll leave everything behind. I've already understood that I was never your priority, but our daughter doesn't deserve to grow up hidden. If this letter ever reaches your hands, it's because I decided to leave for good, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. You always said I was your hidden truth. Well then, may it haunt you until the end. Dalva." Rosa stood motionless. The paper trembled in her hands. She felt a chill run up her spine. The letter's words seemed written that very night, although the paper betrayed decades of silence. A daughter? Dalva and Alberto had a daughter? She sat right there on the wooden bench next to the washing machine, the envelope still in her hands, and let the memories return, one by one. Rosa had known Dalva many years ago. She was a reserved woman, beautiful, with an air of melancholy etched on her face. She would come to the Vasconcelos house in secret, never through the front door, always through the shadows. When asked who she was, they would only say, "The boss's friend." But she wasn't. Rosa saw. She noticed the looks, the silence between the two when she entered with tea. After a while, Dalva stopped appearing. Now, there was the answer. She didn't disappear. She left. And took a daughter with her. Rosa looked at the letter again. The girl's name didn't appear, but something in the tone of the writing, in the way Dalva spoke of herself, sounded familiar. It was then that she remembered. A woman who worked at the market in the neighboring district. She sold cheeses and preserves. Her name was Erica. She had sad eyes and a thin scar on her neck, like from an old surgery. Rosa had known Erica for years. She always thought she looked like someone, but never knew who. Now she knew. She was the portrait of Alberto's youth. Rosa stored the letter inside a plastic bag, hid it at the bottom of the iron cabinet, along with key number 53. Her heart racing, her thoughts scrambled. She needed to confirm, but she knew she couldn't do this openly. Not yet. The next morning, she waited for Alberto to leave. She took one of the floor cloths, wrapped the objects, and left through the side door, as if going to the market. Actually, she went to the fair. She needed to see Erica. She needed to look into her eyes and search there for the missing piece to put together that whole story. The fair was crowded, people walking quickly, loud voices, colors, smells, sounds. Rosa walked slowly to the preserve stand, and there she was. Erica, with the same smile as always, but now Rosa saw with different eyes. She waited for the line to diminish, then approached. "Good morning, Donna Rosa," said Erica, friendly. "Good morning, my child." Pause. Rosa looked closely at her. "Can I ask you a question?" Erica smiled, unsuspecting. "Of course. Was your mother's name Dalva?" Erica's smile disappeared. Her face paled. How do you know that?" Rosa hesitated. She knew she needed to be careful. Truth sometimes is more dangerous than lies. "I worked for a man who knew your mother, many years ago." Erica lowered her eyes. "I know who it is. Mom never talked much, but she left letters. I just don't understand why she lived hidden." Rosa nodded, her eyes welling up. Maybe because she loved someone who didn't have the courage to love truly. At that moment, Rosa felt she held in her hands an entire life that wasn't hers, but that she, now, could repair. She needed to talk to Alberto, show the letter, and ask why he hid a daughter from the world, and from himself. But she knew what was coming. Wouldn't be easy, because messing with the past unearths more than memories. Rosa returned from the fair with eyes full of world. Each step seemed slower, more conscious. There was something pulsing inside her. It wasn't fear, nor anger. It was the weight of truth. The kind that only the righteous carry without looking away. Arriving at the house, she found the main gate open. Strange. That house had always been locked like a safe. She entered silently, barefoot so as not to draw attention. In the living room, the afternoon light filtered through the windows, projecting long shadows on the waxed floor. That's when she heard the voice. Donna Rosa. She turned. Mr. Alberto was there, standing at the office door, with an expression that mixed fatigue and urgency. "I need to talk to you." He invited her into the office. For the first time, Rosa entered through the door, with an invitation. The environment was different. The curtains open, the safe unlocked, the same envelope from before on the table. But now, there was another paper on the desk, a letterhead document, signed, "A will." "Please sit," said Alberto, with a voice lower than usual. Rosa obeyed, still with the market bag in her hands. "I know you saw the safe, the papers, maybe even more than you should have." She said nothing. He continued, "I left that safe open on purpose." Rosa stared at him. "You tested me." Alberto nodded, ashamed. "I needed to know. After so many years, with so many people around wanting to take something from me, I wanted to see if there was still someone who wanted nothing. And if I had taken something," he sighed, "you wouldn't be here now." Silence. "But you not only didn't take anything, you also took care of everything as if it were yours." Rosa looked into his eyes. There was pain there, real pain. "I didn't need to see what was inside that safe, Mr. Alberto. I already know what it's like to live with little and sleep with a light soul." Alberto lowered his head, then he opened a drawer and took out another paper, more yellowed, with handwritten letters. "This was my first will, written 40 years ago, when I still thought I would be man enough to change my life." Rosa took the paper carefully. The name Dalva was there, and right below, another name, Erica Vasconcelos. "She's your daughter, isn't she?" asked Rosa with a low voice. Alberto nodded. "I never acknowledged her. I was afraid of my family, my father, the scandal, afraid of losing comfort. So I chose cowardice. He got up, went to the window, and looked at the garden. Dalva was the great love of my life, but I let her go, and with her, I took away the chance to be a real father. Rosa breathed deeply. I know Erica. He turned, surprised. How? She works at the fair, sells preserves. She's the daughter of the woman you pretended never existed. Alberto sat again, visibly shaken. Does she know that you're her father? No, but she suspects. She carries her mother's pain and unanswered questions. Alberto picked up the new will on the table. This one? I signed yesterday. Half of everything I have will be left to Erica. The other half, he hesitated, goes to you. Rosa's eyes widened. What do you mean? You took care of this house, my children, my dignity. For decades, you were loyal when no one else was. And now, you're giving me the chance to correct a mistake. She shook her head. I don't want money, Mr. Alberto. He smiled bitterly. I know. That's exactly why you deserve it. Rosa stood up with teary eyes. What are you going to do now? Face what I always avoided. Ask for forgiveness. And look into my daughter's eyes. And if she doesn't want to listen, he sighed, then I'll deserve the silence. Before leaving, Rosa took Dalva's letter from the bag and placed it on the table, next to the old will. Start here? And she left the office, leaving Alberto alone, between two lives, the one he lived and the one he could still build. That night the rain stopped, and for the first time in years, Rosa looked out the window and saw not other people's house, but a story she was helping to rebuild. Because sometimes doing right doesn't change the whole world, but it changes someone's world. The night was too silent. No more rain, no wind, no voices. Just a heavy breathing of a man facing the yellowed paper before him, like someone facing a mirror. Alberto held Dalva's letter in his hands. He had already read it more than 20 times, but every time it hurt as if it were the first. The truth was there, dry, raw, unforgivable. Meanwhile, in the back room, Rosa prayed. But not for herself. She prayed for Erica, for Dalva, for Benicio, who was already gone, and for the first time, for Alberto too. She knew what was coming. That man, so full of defenses, was now naked before himself. And when a man of that type truly sees himself, he either destroys himself or rebuilds himself. The next day, Rosa entered the kitchen before sunrise. She began preparing breakfast as always, but before even lighting the stove, she heard footsteps. It was Alberto, without a suit, without shoes, with swollen eyes. Dona Rosa, his voice was a whisper. Could you accompany me to the fair? She didn't respond immediately. Then she nodded. The walk to the fair was made in silence. Alberto kept looking at his own hands. Rosa beside him walked firmly, like someone who had already carried too many stories to fear one more. When they arrived at Erica's stand, she was with her back turned, organizing jars of guava paste. When she turned, time froze. Erica's eyes widened. Rosa spoke first. Child, this here is the man your mother ran from? Erica looked at Alberto. Eyes to eyes. Silence. You are? He tried to smile, but emotion blocked his voice. I'm your father. She took a step back. Her whole body trembled. No, my father never showed up. Alberto approached slowly. I ran away. I hid. I was weak, but I never stopped thinking about you. She was crying now, not from emotion, from anger. Thinking isn't raising. Thinking isn't loving. He took Dalva's letter from his pocket. Your mother wrote this to me, and I didn't respond. I failed her, and you. But if I have to spend the rest of my life asking for forgiveness, I will. Erica took the letter from his hands. Read it. Recognize the handwriting. Tears flowed strongly now. I spent my life thinking she was to blame, that she was the one who didn't want to give me a father. She protected you from me, whispered Alberto. Rosa watched them with teary eyes. It was like seeing a wound being exposed to sunlight for the first time. And for the first time in many years, no one ran. Erica didn't forgive there immediately, but she also didn't leave. Give me time, she said. Time to understand all this. All the time you want, replied Alberto. On the way back home, Alberto cried in the car. He cried like a lost boy. And there, in that instant, Rosa understood something profound. There are pains that time doesn't heal, but that truth relieves. That night, she found a white rose fallen on the ground in the garden. She picked it up, cleaned it carefully, and placed it in a glass with water on her bedside table. It was as if the world, for the first time, was apologizing to her too, because somehow she had always been the silent link between what was lost and what could still be saved. The days that followed were of silence, not tense silence, but deep, like that which precedes healing. Alberto remained at home, more withdrawn. He read, wrote. Sometimes he spent hours in the garden, watching the leaves fall. Rosa saw him from afar. He was changed. The weight of truth had lowered his shoulders but also cleared his eyes. As for Erica, she hadn't appeared anymore. Not a call, not a visit. But Rosa knew. Sometimes forgiveness needs the time that pain demands. On a Saturday morning, Rosa decided to go to the fair alone. She would take some empty jars for Erica to reuse. She thought about talking, asking how she was, but mainly listening. When she arrived, she saw the stand was closed. She asked for news from a neighboring vendor. Erica, she's resting, Dona Rosa. She got sick this week. Her blood pressure was low, and they say she's pregnant. Rosa froze. Pregnant? The man nodded. Yes, a woman like that, a warrior, raising a child. I hope she'll be happy. Rosa clutched her chest. Something in her vibrated, a feeling that mixed surprise with an old, almost forgotten warmth. She returned home hurriedly, her heart beating differently. That night, she was preparing tea when Alberto entered the kitchen. Did you see Erica? The stand was closed. A vendor said she's pregnant. Alberto stopped. His face lit up and paled at the same time. I'm going to be a grandfather. It seems so. He sat at the table, speechless. Rosa placed a cup before him. They stayed there, in silence. But this time, a silence with hope. The next day, Erica appeared. Rosa saw her from the gate, coming with slow steps. Her face was tired, but her gaze calmer. She carried an envelope in her hands. Rosa ran to her, hugged her without saying anything. I came to talk. Come in, child. They went to the back garden. I needed a few days to understand, Erica began. I never thought about being a mother, and now, just now, when my head is chaos, I discover this. Rosa touched her hand. God chooses the times we would never choose, but it's in those times that we grow. Erica smiled, moved. I want to give my father a chance, not for me, but for this child. Your son deserves to know the truth. Erica then handed the envelope to Rosa. It's here. The tests. I'm already 3 months along. And there's something else. Rosa frowned. The baby's father is your nephew, Dona Rosa. The world stopped. What? Daniel, your sister Lucia's son. We met at a friend's gathering. It was unplanned, but he disappeared when he found out about the pregnancy. Rosa put her hand to her mouth. Daniel was her younger sister's son, a distant woman who lived in another city and rarely appeared. So, this child is Erica completed, is your great-grandchild. Silence. Rosa cried. She cried differently from how she had been crying in recent years. It was a cry of recognition, of a life that, without her realizing, was completing itself in spiral. That late afternoon, Alberto came down with the new will in his hands. He found the two in the garden, holding hands. May I sit? Erica nodded. I don't want to live with pending matters anymore. You two are everything I should have had close by my entire life. He looked at Rosa. And you are the root of this new chance. He extended the document. Rosa and Erica signed as witnesses. Then he did something unexpected. He handed the safe key to Rosa. Keep it. I don't need to hide anything anymore. That night, Rosa placed the key inside her rosary. Now it was no longer the symbol of a test. It was the symbol of restored trust. And there, sitting among the flowers she herself cultivated, Rosa finally felt she wasn't just a spectator of that story. She was foundation. She was bridge. She was family. The Vasconcelos family dining table had never been so full. It was Sunday, noon, and for the first time in years, Alberto's sons, Marcelo and Gustavo, were present at the same time, sitting before their father with bored and inattentive expressions, as they had always been. Rosa watched everything from afar, standing in the kitchen, drying her hands on her apron. She knew what was coming, but this time she didn't feel fear. Erica was also there, sitting next to her father, discreet but firm, with her hands on her already slightly rounded belly. Alberto cleared his throat. He looked at his sons like someone looking one last time at the past. I gathered you here for a clear reason. I want to make an announcement. Marcelo, the older one, laughed mockingly. Are you getting married again, Dad? Gustavo added, or are you selling the house? Alberto ignored both. I updated my will, and I thought it was time for you to know. The smiles died on their faces. Half of everything I have will be left to Erica. Who? Interrupted Marcelo. My daughter. Silence fell like a bomb. Your what? Daughter. By blood. I had her with Dalva many years ago. I denied it. Hid it. But now I want to make amends. And the child she's expecting will be my grandchild. Gustavo hit the table, revolted. This is absurd. You're going to give half the patrimony to a stranger? Alberto remained calm. She's my daughter, and she's more worthy than any of you. And that one? Marcelo pointed to Rosa. How much is she taking? We always suspected she wanted to make her move. Rosa squeezed the cloth between her fingers, but this time she didn't stay quiet. She took a step forward. I don't want anything from you. Not money, not respect, because the latter you never gave me. She looked firmly at both. I saw you grow up, saw your parties, cleaned your vomit, arranged your dirty clothes. And even so I was invisible, and even so I was loyal. Marcelo laughed. Are you going to make a speech now? No, I'm just saying that you never understood what it means to have value when no one is watching. Because you always only looked at yourselves. Erica stood up. My father did many wrong things, but he's trying to make it right now. You have no idea what he lost through cowardice. I grew up not knowing who I was, not understanding why my mother cried at night. I carry a story I didn't ask for, but today, I choose not to carry his shame anymore. This is emotional manipulation, shouted Gustavo. Alberto hit the table hard. Enough! Silence. You always saw me as a bank, not as a father, and now that I'm finally being one, you don't accept it. He breathed deeply. The choice is made. The will is registered, and if you want to contest it, you'll have to prove you deserve something. Good luck. The sons got up, stunned, and left, slamming the door like spoiled children. Rosa remained there, standing. Alberto turned to her. I'm sorry for everything. She smiled. We can't change what was, but we can choose what will still be. Later, he went to the safe. He opened it, took out a pearl necklace, the same one Rosa had once picked up to clean and returned. He handed it to her. This belonged to Dalva. Now it's yours. I can't accept. You can, because you're the only person in this house who never needed anything to have everything. On the porch, Erica caressed her belly, watching the sunset. Rosa approached, placed her hand over hers. Is it going to be a girl? Yes. Do you have a name already? Erica smiled. Rosa, in your honor. Rosa cried silently, clean tears of healing, because at that moment, the cycle of abandonment and silence had been broken, and the story, finally, had become another. Time passed slowly, like someone respecting the pain that needed to be crossed. 2 months after that tense lunch, the Vasconcelos house was different, not because of the walls nor the furniture, but because of the presences that now inhabited it with truth. Rosa woke early as always, but now, her steps weren't hurried nor bent. She walked through the garden with dignity. She watered the plants, talked to the roses as if they were confidants. The little house in the back where she lived had been renovated by Alberto's order. It had new paint, new furniture, and a detail she herself had chosen, a wide window that looked directly at the morning sun. She said she wanted to see the world waking up with her. Alberto was thinner, quieter, but more present. He spent mornings writing letters to Erica. Simple things, memories, advice, poems. He tried, in his way, to build a bridge with the daughter that shame had pushed away. Erica now came frequently. She talked with her father, laughed with Rosa, helped in the garden. Her big belly no longer allowed much effort, but she insisted on touching the earth, on planting seeds. She said it was her way of telling her daughter that life is made of cycles. And then came the day of birth. It was a morning with clear skies when Rosa received the call. She ran to the hospital with the rosary in her pocket and a knot in her throat. She waited outside, as she had always waited in life, with silent faith. When the nurse finally came out, smiling, she announced, "It's a girl. Healthy. Strong." Rosa cried right there, leaning against the hospital corridor wall. Minutes later, she entered the room. Erica held the baby in her arms. Rosa, meet Rosa. The little one slept peacefully with closed eyes and parted lips. Rosa touched her tiny, warm fingers and whispered, "May you grow with truth. May you know how to love without hiding. And may you never need to prove your worth to anyone." Alberto entered next, his eyes teary, his face moved. "I failed as a father, but if I have a chance as a grandfather, I promise to be better." Erica nodded, handing the baby to him. "Start now," and so he did. Days later, a simple ceremony was held in the house garden, an intimate baptism with close friends. Rosa held the baby while Erica and Alberto exchanged looks that said more than any words. Someone asked, "Rosa, what will you leave for this girl?" She thought, smiled. "I don't leave inheritance. I leave example. Because life, my child, doesn't measure us by what we have, but by what we do when no one is watching." That night, Rosa wrote in her notebook, the same one Benicio had given her decades ago, still with the faded cover. "I never needed gold. I just wanted my name not to be forgotten by the hands I cleaned, by the doors I closed carefully, by the looks I endured in silence. Today, I'm not invisible. Today, I'm root and roots. No one pulls out." This story showed that honesty isn't just a choice. It's an identity. Now I want to hear from you. What would you do in Rosa's place? Comment below with your opinion, and if you liked it, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Oh, and get ready, because in the next video there's another emotional story waiting for you. Click on the recommended video and see what beautiful story awaits. Until next time.